It started as just another political interview. Karoline Leavitt, the young and outspoken conservative figure, had agreed to sit down with Ethan Cole, a well-known reporter notorious for his aggressive questioning and sharp criticism of faith in politics. The interview was set in a sleek, modern news studio, bright lights illuminating the polished desk where Karoline and Ethan sat across from each other. From the moment the cameras started rolling, Ethan wasted no time setting the tone. "Miss Leavitt, you've been very vocal about your faith in Jesus Christ, but don't you think that, in today's world, clinging to such outdated beliefs makes you seem, well, out of touch?" he asked, his smirk barely concealed. Karoline didn't flinch. She had faced tougher interviews before. Keeping her posture straight and her expression calm, she simply tilted her head slightly. "Out of touch?" she echoed. "Ethan, do you think faith in Jesus Christ is outdated? Because, last time I checked, Christianity still has over 2 billion followers worldwide. That's more than just a fringe belief." Ethan let out a short laugh. "Sure, a lot of people follow Christianity, but let's be honest, science has explained so much. We no longer need ancient religious texts to guide our morality. And let's not even get started on the contradictions in the Bible." The tension in the room thickened. The audience watching the live broadcast online began flooding the comments section with reactions, some agreeing with Ethan, others fiercely defending Karoline. But Karoline wasn't rattled. She simply folded her hands on the desk and met Ethan's gaze with unwavering confidence. "You say we don't need God to guide our morality. But tell me, Ethan, if we remove faith, if we take away belief in something greater than ourselves, what do we build our moral foundation on?" Ethan scoffed. "On logic, on human reasoning. We don't need religious stories to tell us right from wrong." Karoline leaned forward slightly, her voice calm but firm. "But human reasoning is flawed. People justify terrible things all the time using logic. Dictators throughout history have built entire regimes on their version of reasoning. But faith? Faith gives us an unchanging moral compass. It teaches forgiveness, kindness, humility, values that don't shift based on popular opinion." For the first time, Ethan hesitated. The confident smirk on his face wavered just a little. And that's when Karoline decided to push further. "You mocked Jesus Christ at the beginning of this interview, Ethan. But let me ask you, if you take away the name, the religious title, and just look at his teachings, do you actually disagree with what he stood for? Love your neighbor, care for the poor, treat others as you want to be treated. Tell me, what exactly about that is worth mocking?" Silence. Ethan shifted in his seat, his usual arrogance dimming slightly. He opened his mouth to respond, but no words came out, and the cameras were still rolling. The silence hung heavy in the air. The confident smirk that had been plastered on Ethan Cole's face at the start of the interview was now gone. He glanced down at his notes, as if searching for a comeback, but Karoline Leavitt's words had clearly thrown him off. The tension was electric. Viewers watching the live broadcast flooded the comment section with reactions. "She got him! Answer the question, Ethan. He's stumped. This is gold." Ethan cleared his throat, attempting to regain control of the conversation. "Look, Karoline," he finally said, forcing a chuckle, "you're great at dodging questions. But let's be real here. People use religion as a crutch. They use it to justify hate, discrimination, and even war. So forgive me if I don't see Jesus Christ as this great moral leader you claim him to be." Karoline raised an eyebrow. "So let me get this straight. Because some people misuse faith, that means faith itself is the problem?" Ethan shrugged. "It's part of the problem." She shook her head slightly. "No, Ethan, that's like saying because some people abuse free speech, we should get rid of free speech altogether. The truth is, people have twisted every ideology, every belief system, including atheism, to justify terrible things. But that doesn't mean the core of that belief is wrong. It just means humanity is flawed." Ethan sighed, clearly growing frustrated. He leaned back in his chair, tapping his pen against the desk. "Okay, fine, but answer this. If Jesus was so great, why didn't he just prove he was God? Why not come down right now and show himself? If he's real, why hide? Karoline didn't hesitate. That's the thing about faith, Ethan. It's not about being forced to believe. It's about choosing to believe. If God showed up in the sky tomorrow and said, "Hey everyone, I'm real," sure, people would believe. But would that belief come from love or just fear? Free will is a gift, and faith is a choice. Ethan scoffed, but there was an uneasiness in his expression now. He was losing control of the conversation, and he knew it. Karoline saw the shift and decided to drive her point home. You're sitting here mocking Jesus, but let's be honest. You wouldn't mock Buddha or Muhammad or any other religious figure the same way. You target Christianity because you know it's the foundation of what this country was built on. But here's the thing, Ethan. No matter how much you mock, no matter how much you try to tear it down, faith in Jesus Christ isn't going anywhere. In fact, the more people try to silence it, the stronger it becomes. Ethan opened his mouth to respond, but before he could, something unexpected happened. A producer stepped onto the set, whispered something into his earpiece, and his expression darkened. He turned back to Karoline, visibly irritated. We need to cut to commercial. The screen faded to black, but the damage had already been done. The interview wasn't over yet, but the power had already shifted. The moment the show cut to commercial, the tension on set became even more intense. Ethan Cole ripped out his earpiece and tossed it onto the desk, his frustration barely contained. What was that? He snapped at one of the producers. I was supposed to control this interview, not let her turn it into a Sunday sermon. The producer, a frazzled-looking man with a clipboard, simply shook his head. We had to go to break. The network is blowing up right now. Ethan's face paled. What do you mean? Before the producer could answer, one of the assistant staff members rushed over, holding a phone in her hand. Ethan, look at this. Our live feed is going viral. The audience engagement just tripled. Ethan grabbed the phone and scrolled through the flood of comments pouring in. Karoline just schooled him on national TV. She didn't even flinch. That's called standing firm in your faith. This is why people are tired of the media attacking Christians. Ethan clenched his jaw. This was not how things were supposed to go. He had invited Karoline on the show expecting to make a fool out of her. Just another young conservative with outdated beliefs. But instead, she had flipped the entire narrative. The commercial break ended, and the cameras were rolling again. Ethan forced a smile, but Karoline could see right through it. Welcome back, he said stiffly, his tone colder than before. Before the break, Karoline was passionately defending Christianity. But let's step away from religion for a second and talk about politics. You're a strong supporter of faith in leadership, but don't you think there should be a separation of church and state? Karoline didn't even blink. Ethan, what do you think the First Amendment means? It means religion shouldn't control the government, he shot back. She nodded. Exactly. But it also means the government shouldn't silence religion. Separation of church and state was never meant to push faith out of public life. It was meant to protect it. But today, the media and certain politicians use it as an excuse to attack Christianity, while celebrating every other belief system. Ethan opened his mouth to argue, but Karoline leaned forward, locking eyes with him. Here's the real issue, Ethan. It's not that people like you don't believe in God. It's that deep down, you wish you could. But admitting that means admitting that maybe, just maybe, you've been wrong this whole time. And that's a hard pill to swallow. For the first time, Ethan had no comeback. He shifted uncomfortably in his chair. The silence in the studio was deafening. And then, something even more unexpected happened. One of the cameramen, a quiet older man who had worked in the industry for years, removed his headset and stood up. She's right. Everyone turned to look at him. I've spent my whole life running from faith, he admitted, mocking it, ignoring it. But everything she just said, that hit home. Another crew member spoke up, then another. The atmosphere in the room had shifted completely. This wasn't just an interview anymore. This was a moment. Ethan cleared his throat, clearly rattled. He forced a laugh. Well, Karoline, I think we've had enough preaching for today, Karoline simply smiled. Truth has a funny way of making people uncomfortable, doesn't it? The interview ended, but the impact was far from over. The clip exploded online, drawing millions of views within hours. People who had never considered faith before found themselves questioning everything. Karoline Leavitt didn't just hold her ground, she completely flipped the script. This interview wasn't just about faith or politics. It was about standing firm in what you believe, even when the world tries to tear you down. This just proves that truth has a way of making people think, even those who refuse to listen at first. What did you think about Karoline's response? Do you think she handled the situation the right way? Let's talk about it in the comments. And hey, if you enjoyed this story and want to see more eye-opening moments like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.